What's up, everybody? I'm Keedren.
And I'm Katura, and this is Talking with the Bosses. We're so glad that you could join us for this session of Before I Do Part 2.
Yes. Yeah, I think we had a good conversation
Oh, we did.
this last time.
Look, that conversation wasn't just good, it was 3 hours long
Oh,
good.
Lord. Yeah, for real.
No, we spent some time,
Yeah.
but we enjoyed the fellowship.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a good time.
Yeah. So I think there was a couple of things that I want us to continue to talk about,
Yeah.
through that process. But it's very important, like thinking about these conversations that we have when we done fell in love, right? If you set it up, you meet somebody,
Yep.
y'all are connecting in a great way, got some commonalities, communication is on point, right?
Right.
And then over time, the time spent, time invested, now you feel like, okay, this is going somewhere.
Yes.
Right. And now I know some of the people that we've talked to, and you may have experiences too, especially from some of your girlfriends,
Sure.
But
we'd be talking.
Like, how common is it for women to actually know if they're getting ready to get proposed to? You know what I'm saying? Because I think there's a moment where it's like a man has to know, okay, it's gonna be a yes,
right,
before you take that step, because that's a big step to step and kneel. You know what I mean? And just say,
yeah,
and I know we've seen horror stories of men getting down on one knee and a woman pulling them up and saying, no, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Well, we saw one scene. I don't know if we were watching it together, but there was this scene where this young man was in the mall and had gathered a group around. It was a nice, good sized circle in a public place. And he got on one knee to propose to her, and she must have slapped him in his face.
Crazy.
3 or 4 times. It was horrible. The no would have been painful enough.
Yeah, for real.
But the fact that she put her hands on this man publicly, and I think he was shocked by the physical. But even still, to do that, then I'm like, I don't know if he's shocked by the physical,
right?
But he should not, or at least I wonder if he should have been shocked by the fact that she said no. I don't know, because I've seen. Okay, so we were watching some type of play recently, and the young man who was interested in marrying his father-in-law to be's daughter. He said, I want to ask for so-and-so's hand in marriage. And the father said, do you think she's going to say yes?
Good question. Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I do. And he said, okay, well, then you have my blessing. Then on the other hand, you have these situations where women are being proposed to. We're not even going to talk about the men being proposed to, but women being proposed to is a whole nother thing. Women being proposed to and saying no. And I just wonder what kind of conversations need to happen. Like, why, are you that shocked? Have y'all not talked about this?
Right.
Did you have no level of certainty? And then we've seen movies where a man takes this woman to a nice restaurant and her friends and family, or their friends and family are around, or just even their friend group are around, right? And he gets this spiel together, stands up, I love you, I can't see myself with anyone other than you.
Yeah.
And all of that happens, and then she says no. And then it fast forward in one of those rom-coms, right? And it's 6 months earlier. And then you figure out what really happened. But so I've always been curious when someone proposes, what are the conversations that happen to give you that kind of confidence and courage? And then what makes a woman say no, especially when they're we've been together for 6 years and I love you, or we've been together for 2 years and I just love you so much, I can't see myself without you.
Right.
And then it's no.
Yeah. And I think that goes to the conversation, all of this that we're talking about, some essential conversations, things that, you need to discuss. And I think it comes with the dating, courting, asking questions, getting to know each other.
Think so.
Because even for us, when I proposed to you, we already knew, we had already talked about future, what we were looking for.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge surprise.
Yeah, what I mean? So I just kind of wanted to pose that and put that out there. For some of you who are tuned in, thank y'all for tuning in with us. For those of you who are watching on our Facebook group, Talking with the Bostons, thank you for joining.
Yep.
If you're scrolling by on Facebook and you see us, thank you for tuning in. And for those of you who are on YouTube, God bless your heart.
We're grateful. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in on these places and these platforms.
Yes.
And so leave comments like, what do y'all think? Like, I want to hear from some ladies. I want to hear from some, some guys as well. Like, is there a moment in time where you start feeling like, okay, this is the one, especially from a woman's perspective? Like, is it like I feel like I would say yes, if he proposed to me, you know what I mean?
And what conversation, like what kind of conversations are leading up to it?
Yeah.
Like put like, oh, we talked about it in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Or I heard like they told somebody close to me and I got wind of it.
Yeah.
Like something happened before that. Cause we're just trying to figure out when people say no, why are they saying no? What was the missed conversation?
Yeah.
And when people say yes and they, pick whatever timing like feels right. Cause it's got to be the right moment.
For
Usually
sure.
when you talk about it, you build it up. Like,
and you want to have some spontaneity. You want it to be a surprise. Like it's just nothing like
especially
those
for
moments.
men, right?
Yeah. Like you want to set it up right.
Yeah.
I was talking to a young man, great young man that we've built with over the last year or so.
Yeah.
And he recently proposed to his fiance. And one of the questions I asked him, when he was telling me like how he was just super excited about, like he already had the place, the time, he already communicated with her family, and one of the things I asked him, I said, how did that conversation come about? Like, do you think she's going to say, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's a yes coming. So one of the things he shared was, he was like, we talked about it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so a lot of times, it may be timing, like, I can see myself, like, I can see us together, like, and I think that's a big thing too. And we didn't talk about that last time, but understanding, like, I would marry you as a man, right? But then as a woman, seeing like, I can see us, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel like, we click, we connect, we
want similar things for our future.
I am in love with you, right? Having those kind of conversations.
Right.
I know we've had a conversation with our oldest son, and even asking him throughout his in this period over these last 4 3-4 years, these grown years for him, asking him to ask those questions to himself. But we also want to know too, like, can you see yourself with this person, in the future? Right. To allow him to think about it, can you see yourself locked in, loving and caring for this person and dealing with what they have to offer, right? Because there's good. So dealing with everything they have to offer, right? Dealing with everything that they're connected to, right? Can you see yourself within? I think that's something that, if you're dating and you are in a relationship, those are questions that you should be asking yourself.
Right.
Can I see myself with this person? Can I see myself being patient with this person, being compassionate, being considerate with this person? Do I care about some of the things that they care about, that when it came down to it, I would sacrifice for them?
Right.
I think asking questions like that for yourself too are important. Yeah. So maybe just some conversations for us to have, some conversation to have with yourself.
Yeah.
Not just conversation to have with the other person that you're in love with.
Yeah, I think that's definitely personal. Because when we, as we're spinning off, like going into this part 2, we hit a couple of things, right? Read off some of the titles of the things.
Okay,
and it'll kind of like set us up.
Yeah,
I think for where we're going.
So we talked about discussing lifestyle and values.
Okay.
We talked about family planning.
Yep.
Like what that looks like. Career goals and relocation. If it's a long distance relationship, what do we think about that? What are our career goals? We also talked a little bit about, actually, we didn't really talk about financial management. We did. We did touch on that. And then communication and conflict resolution. Having a conversation about that. Religion and beliefs, where y'all lined up when it comes to
that's important.
Health and wellness, like being honest with each other about your medical background and some of the things that or entail with that your individual health histories. Like these are conversations that, you in their business, but like if this is somebody that we're going to be with in the future, we got to discuss it. Right. We also talked about division of household responsibilities. Like, what does that look like? Just discussing that, right? Those chores.
And before division, like, what do those kind of things look like? And are we willing to divide them? Not necessarily equally, but proportionally, so that we're all, contributing in some way.
For sure. And then the last two were like support networks, your family and your friends who you're already connected to, how you feel about them and how you plan to maintain those relationships, as we grow together. And then lastly is personal goals and hobbies, like sharing your personal goals and hobbies with each other, and see how you can support each other on those things,
And we talked about what phases these things happen in, right? Because during the dating period, our premise of our last conversation was to say, what are some actual meaningful things that we need to have conversations about? Like, are we just going to talk about what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? Those are things that are important. But when you're talking about grown people, like adults, I probably don't have maybe just one favorite food, and I maybe like an array of colors. I like what I like, and those are good things to know, right? But when it comes down to saying like we're dating with a purpose, we're dating for meaning, we're dating for future, we're not out here trying to just play in the streets or play with hearts.
Right.
We're trying to have real adult conversations that are going to provoke good conversation and lead to answers that give us more insight into knowing who the other person is. Right. And I think that being able to be honest in different phases of those conversations help people to get to know each other better before they even get to like that long-term conversation, because it's not the goal to see if somebody, you want to marry someone right off rip. You may be able to see that and you could end up married and be like, I saw it from day one.
Right.
But the other thing is that how do you level up those conversations? And so in this part 2, we were thinking, we still had some left in the chamber when it came to this conversation, because there are some next steps even talking about that. And one of the bigger things we came back to was like your support group. What's going to change before you get married, or no, what's going to change when you get married that you need to have a conversation about before you get married? So we know that, legally you'll be married. You're probably going to move in together. You're going to be sharing other resources in that way. But what about the other things? Like the one thing that came up for us was like traditions and how we spend holidays.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a big thing. Yeah.
Right. Because we talked about like growing up and being, not married or being unmarried to one another. We spent them with our families. Sometimes we divided that time and spent them with each other's families. And that was kind of a thing. But once we were like officially married, we were, our goal was to create some tradition for our family as well.
Yeah.
And when you marry someone who loves to cook, the holidays, that's like prime time. That's right. That's my time to shine.
Yeah.
But I know one thing that we did that I thought was helpful was that first year that we were officially married, I cooked Thanksgiving the day before Thanksgiving for us.
Remember that.
I wanted to do that for my husband and for my family, for us to be able to like settle and, create that tradition. But I also didn't want to rock his mom's world either, and his family's world in that sense. And I actually enjoyed being around his family too for the holidays. So by splitting up the days, we were still able to be at his mom's house that first year. And still have Thanksgiving when we got home. So the only difference was it was like, no, we don't need 10 to-go plates because we have food at the house, but we came for the food, the fellowship, the games, the laughter, and the family time and all of that over here. But we still had something to come back to. But I think that could be a tricky conversation because.
But I appreciate that consideration. I do. And I don't even think that I really thought about it like that until you discussed it and talked about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't trying to also pull us away in that way,
And I didn't throw it out there like that either. Like I didn't want a cookie for doing it. I thought it would be like, this might be thoughtful.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I think that consideration for me was a blessing. I know my mom appreciated it, because she's always so gracious too. Like, baby, take care of home. That's your wife. Like, she come first, And so she's always been, that's been her point, her stance, as we are married, like wife, take care of that first, of course, I agree. And that's how I feel, but it was never her trying to pull us away or pull me away in that way. But for you to be considerate in that is definitely a blessing. And I appreciate that. But it's definitely a conversation to have, right? Because especially your whole life. And if you spent your whole life going at mama's house or at big mama's house or grandma, wherever it was, wherever traditionally, you did that. And then now you're in a relationship where, hey, this is serious and things are going to change. Because here's the thing, once you're dating, 1 year I may go to your, your family's place, and next year or next holiday, some people do it, for Thanksgiving, we're doing it at our home, for Christmas, we're going away to see family, and some people rotate and things like that. And so when you're dating, it might be like that. But then when you're married, it's just like, well, I want to have it at our house. You know what I'm saying? I want to.
No, it's true.
Yeah. And so just having those conversations and talking about that, is important. So it's definitely a good point. And of course we talked a little bit about even your friendships or your siblings. If you have trips that you're doing, or there are times of the year that you spend with your siblings, or friends, you
might want to just talk about that. It doesn't mean stop them cold turkey,
right?
But in some instances,
you might have to.
It just really depends on the maturity of like this circle that we're talking about, because your friends, who those influences are, that matters. And even if it's family, all of those influences matter, and you have to have conversations. So like, let's just say, for example, like there's these movies out, right? Like Girls Trip.
Right.
And we know how they acting on these girls trips.
Yeah.
And then they had the moms, bad moms, right? They was like stressed out with life, and they're like, we going out and we acting crazy. We acting up. We don't care. We
live our life.
We showing out tonight. They not ready for this. And so they got into some stuff, like in both instances, whether it was the single ladies or it was the bad moms that weren't really bad. They were just, moms.
Yeah.
But regardless of who it was, it just, when it came down to it, they were like, let's make some bad decisions tonight. And so if you are getting married and you plan on being married, newly married, and that's what you did before you got married, that may or may not be a point of contention in your current relationship.
Right.
So this doesn't even mean marriage. It means like it could be a point of contention in your current relationship.
Yeah.
So those are things you have to check, because there were some activities that my friends like to do before Keedren and I were married, like going to the club, every weekend. That was never my thing. I've probably been to a club 3 times in my life. And mainly because I love dancing, and I'm dancing for real at the club. I'm not a drinker or a wallflower. I am dancing. Okay. Yeah. But I've probably been 3 times in my life, but I had some in the club. But I had some friends and they enjoyed it, and that's what they did. That was kind of like a fun pastime for them. It just wasn't as fun of a pastime for me. Gotcha. So, had it been an issue, I would have had to rethink, like, y'all, I can't hang out Friday and Saturday night. Like,
but it changed for me too. But also that came with my lifestyle change as well, like overall. You know what I mean? As a man of God, like when I really dedicated my life.
Yeah, because your club experience was different.
Yeah, it was definitely different.
Yeah, you weren't dancing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But my life changed in that respect as well too, because when I got, like, legitimately, I always say I got saved when we got married.
No, I feel like
really feel like that's when I got my life right.
Oh my goodness. No, I feel like that. Like that was the game changer.
Yeah, before then I was a heathen. And
great.
And I'm grateful to God that I'm still here, that we're still together, that we are raising a family. That God has changed our lives. But my life had to change as well. And it was definitely for the better. But these are things that, for the sake of our spiritual health, our relational health, there are things that we have to discuss, and then we have to move like it matters.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like having those conversations.
Right.
Like, I will not be going on the singles trip or the singles, like, it's somebody's birthday, we going out and we're turning up tonight.
Yeah.
I don't do that as a married woman. Or like, I don't want to do slumber parties anymore. Like, I'm sleeping at home.
You want to do those sleepovers?
No, that's not really my thing. No, I tried it. It was
I didn't
enjoy it. But but like you said, like going out and then having to have conversations with certain friends, like I'm not ripping and running. I can't rip and run with you, or I can't keep them kind of hours.
Yeah.
Anymore, because now, and it's not just about it. It had nothing to do with control, but it did have to do with like relationship management.
So let me ask you this, because I've heard a few conversations going on now, even just on, on the cyberspace,
on the social media.
You're right.
The World Wide Web.
When it comes to, so even just talking about these things, it is a shift.
Yeah.
Right. And you say, you like to go out to dance. I know you like to dance. You still dance now. You still like to do that now.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just who you are. And I love it. But what did that make your life worse because you couldn't do, like, because you felt like, not that you couldn't, right? Because it's not like you couldn't, right? But what was that like? Like, what is that like? Do you feel like you're missing out? Do you feel like, oh, I have to do this now because I'm married? And like what was that like for you? Was it like a big piece missing, or you felt like, what did you feel like?
To be honest, I didn't want those as options. Like, clubs is the only place to dance, and like to have fun. But I also didn't know of other places, and also because dancing wasn't really your thing, I didn't see it as like an activity we could do together. So it was kind of different. So being in a club, like dancing with my girlfriends and just random people, it was very different than, because like you dance and you leave. It wasn't a thing. So no, my life was not worse for it. But if I had other options and like you like to dance, I would have liked to have known what those would have been. Like going out dancing with you, because if you love dancing, you just don't stop dancing. Like I still do. I still dance around the house. You still catch me dancing in the kitchen. I dance when I'm cooking. I dance randomly. I'll dance to make you laugh. Even like I'll just do it for fun. The same way you will sing someplace professionally, and you will sing to make me laugh. You will sing for fun. So I would not say not engaging in like club activity, even though I love to dance, was like detrimental. But I would have liked to have some other like cleaner options. And I think I just didn't know what those were. But no,
that makes sense. And me, I didn't really know, because it was kind of like cold turkey for me for some of the things that I was doing in that way. Like a lot of, I was performing secular music in these clubs. You know what I mean? Like it was that it wasn't, it was contrary to the life that I had dedicated my heart to, as a Christian, so I didn't have other options as well either, to go out, because I remember coming up that like I would have, you would see adults like husband and wife, like they would go to the club and they would dance together because they like to dance and like to go out, but they're together. And you see couples, they go out and they do that. So it's not like it's not a thing or wasn't a thing. So I definitely understand, like, me wasn't necessarily a big dancer. I'll dance with you, but I'm not just like, let me just hit the dance floor and do my thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, I can tell. I have definitely noticed when you'll go out of your way to be like, okay, I'll dance with you. I have a ball. Listen. I will use you as a prop. If you're willing to get on that floor, you don't have to do much.
It's just not like me, like, hey, let's go dance.
Right.
And I'm just being honest with that, but I'll always dance with you. But I asked that.
That'll never be a regret you ever have to have. Like, I should have danced when she wanted to dance. We can say you've done that. But finding things, but here was the thing. It was not about the things that we gave up. It was about the conversations that we had and the things that we started to do that were just different than what we used to do. Like, because we'll go down memory lane on this thing with you, because it really did come down to conversations. We had to talk to each other about our expectations for that. But when if someone just springs it on you, and like, say I would have just gone out, right? Like my friend would have invited me and I would have done what I would have done just while we were dating. Still, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going out, and not oblivious to the fact that I'm not like actually talking to you about it. Like, where are you going? Oh, I'm going out. Oh, well, what time you come back? Oh, I don't know. Just, when we get done. That would have been a point of contention, just because the boundaries of respect, like sometimes just at the base level, just communication is, is the form of like mutual respect about those comings and goings. And so I think for us, the point here is communicating those things beforehand, because when people are surprised, Like I wouldn't, and you hear those things in movies, like I would have never married you if I'd known you were going to be like this,
and
you weren't like this before. And ever since we got married, you've changed. And, from the man or the woman or from both, for different reasons.
Yeah.
And go ahead. What I'm saying?
That's really good. Cause you made me think about having conversations about things that you don't want to change. Right. Like once you know, like, I see us together and things like that. What are some things that in this relationship, no matter what happens, no matter what we're doing, what do we want to stay the same? What do we know that's going to change, that probably has to change?
Right.
For the sake of, our
us building and meshing.
Yeah. And it might not always be bad things that we got to stop doing. There are just certain things that maybe we just need to consider. Because maybe I want to spend more time with you doing this versus by myself or with somebody else, you know what I mean? Another group of people, or just kind of see how we can, have the combination of these things. But I want us to continue to always do that. You know what I mean? Like for us, I think something that we've never stopped doing since we have been friends and even throughout our relationship, I think something we've always done would be honest with each other and to have moments where let's just go out
on a date
and let's date and let's talk and let's legitimately like spend time with each other, like be intentional about that. Even just when was that Friday? This past week for us, was it was a lot. We had a lot going on, and
the whole week just kind of slammed into us on Friday.
Yeah, so and so it was just like let's go eat. Let's go catch a movie. There's a movie theater that we love that has good food. I don't ever mind if she falls asleep, but I think we were both going.
A couple of times, like there were times you was woke and you nudged me out.
Look,
he was knocked out.
I done fell out,
And at one point I said, "Oh, get you some rest. Like I know you're tired." But those things are important. And I think when you said the things that we don't want to change, there are some things about you as an individual that you don't want to change.
Yeah.
Because honestly, you always say this, we can't make more minutes, but we can make moments.
Right.
We don't know how many minutes we have with each other, but we can definitely make the best of the moments that we have, because we know as hard as it is to think about moments and what we think will be a moment will not last always. And there's a part of yourself that you want to keep too. What are some things that just bring you joy, make you happy, fulfill you as well? So even on your worst days with someone, your joy, your happiness is not completely contingent on them to fulfill.
That's really good.
It's not completely contingent on that. Like how do you self-soothe yourself in that way?
How do you find joy?
Yes.
Yeah, always.
You can be happily married.
Right.
And not have joy because there's some type of internal thing that you're dealing with that someone else just can't, they cannot fix. They cannot fulfill.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone earlier today who was saying that he was in his second marriage. And he said, I'm a different husband in my second marriage than I was in my first marriage. He said, but honestly, I think I was a better husband in my first marriage because I was so nervous in my second marriage that all I was trying to do was just keep this one happy. And it was making me kind of lose myself, and then when pieces of my joy would like slip out of things that I would want to do, it would like throw, my spouse, like kind of like, oh, I didn't know you like to do that. I didn't know you were into that. And it was just very confusing because these were not conversations about like you. And so even when you're new to getting married or you're new to starting over, it is important that, to have conversations with yourself. What are some things about me that I still want to keep? What are some things about us that I want us to build and don't change?
That's good. No, that's really good. That's really good. This is important. I love that you said that, so for us to lean into that. You don't want to lose yourself for the sake of gaining someone else,
that should not have to be the exchange.
That's seriously. That's
like trading me for you.
Right.
It should be I should be able to bring me to you and you bring you to me.
Right.
And we're more and we're better and we're more enriched and enhanced because of that. But you should be able, like, I have no interest like whatsoever in this season of my life and playing video games. And I've watched you go through, and that's like how you think, you listen to podcasts and books during that time. And I can respect and appreciate your time till this day. I met you when you were a boy playing games, and you're a man, and you still like, games that cause you to do critical thinking and sports games and things like that. And it has never bothered me.
Yeah.
It has not bothered me a day, because it's something that helps you kind of decompress.
Yeah.
And also because it doesn't bother me. Like we used to go to arcades together, so I'm not against it. It's not something that I do.
Yeah.
So while you're doing the things that you like during your time, I'm doing the things that I like, and I like that gives us space. Yeah. But these are still just ongoing conversations. But when it comes to the things before you say I do, talking to your families about things that'll change, talking to each other about the things that you don't want to change between y'all two, right. And the things that are about you that like you want to hold on to. Like, I know there are things that, we're both going to trade for married life, not trade to be with each other, but just trade for married life. Like, you are giving up single life for married life.
Yeah.
You got to cut that off. That some things will absolutely change, and it's not right. A bad thing. And you will have some friends that understand or some that don't understand, but holding on to them to try to keep them, that's just going to be futile. So it's going to be very good for you to be able to have conversations with your circle and with your significant other before you get to that piece so that nobody is surprised. I know you ain't like my friends. This was my best man in the wedding, and these were, it's like, no, I like them. I just don't want them at our house 4 out of 7 nights a week.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, this is what we used to do. Like, me and him was roommates in college. Me and him was roommates after college. And we played cards over here every week. And we always watched the game, and we always did this and we always did that. And that could be shocking for me to be like, I don't want to have to sit up in a room 4 nights a week and you entertain and have company. Like, right. I want to be some company too. I like to laugh.
Or you have your girls over for vice versa. Your book club or whatever it is, or whatever that looks like.
Exactly.
Just for being respectful. Wine and cheese or whatever.
Wine and magazine party.
Wine and magazine party.
That's from a movie. That's kind of an inside joke.
That's funny. But that's absolutely right. Just having that, what is that going to look like? What is that dynamic going to look like? That's good. That's good.
And you said you came across something on there where we talk about financial management, and 2 grown adult single people might also have this conversation. What do we do when we are merging lifestyles, homes,
right,
bills, debt, expenses? Are we going for the joint account, the 2 separate accounts, like we're keeping our own accounts and that stuff is separate,
right?
Or the joint account and the second one, I got without you knowing? Not me, but like just an example. Because I wouldn't sneak. If I wanted to do it, we would have a conversation. I would do it. I'm not sneaking in my marriage, but
excuse me.
Cool. No. But even conversations like that. There was I was watching this thread and I didn't say nothing, but I kept wanting to jump in. There was one of those kind of posts where like I wanted to say something, but I kept going back and deleting, and I was like, let me think of the perspective of the writer, the author of this post. Let me think of the perspective of the readers. Like, and then I said, no, this is for grown folks. Let me just keep my little ugly 2 cents to myself.
Okay.
But the conversation was like, me and my fiance, we're splitting bills, but it's not going to be 50-50. He's going to pay most of them, and I'll pay, the things that I feel are reasonable for me to pay, like my car note, my phone, because those are things that I had beforehand. So we're not going to have joint accounts. Like, my money is my money and his is his, and we'll share what we feel like needs to be shared. And it was mixed across. I'm not going to tell y'all what my thoughts were because it's not important, but across the comment section, it was definitely like, well, maybe you know me, I don't know. But it was a combination of people, men and women, had, some similar and some different viewpoints on it. But there were people like, no, when you get married, you're becoming one, everything becomes one. It's going to complicate things less. And a lot of women were like, that's true. So that comment got a lot of responses like, yes, that is 100% true. And then there were people commenting saying, no, that was a big problem in my relationship because my significant other was irresponsible with money. I couldn't trust them to manage both of our incomes, and they were spending how they wanted to, and we're putting money into the pot, but it seemed like, they were doing things a little differently than maybe I would do them. Just different things like that. And then you had men saying, well, men have more to lose by having a joint account, because if we're bringing in the most money, then we have the most to lose. And women were like, well, not necessarily. I mean, there was just so much conversation that it was like double dutch. I was like, should I jump in? I was like, no, I'm gonna just keep reading, because I do want like a well-rounded perspective. And a lot of times these are not conversations. I'm not looking at them because I need advice for my marriage. We locked in, ain't no switching up. But I do think about the fact that we share an internet with our adult kids, and they're coming across the same content.
Right.
The algorithm is not in favor of any particular thing. It will show you what it wants to show you. It has nothing to do with it has very little. I won't say nothing because that's not entirely true. But the percentage of how much it has to do with what you search or what you tend to lean toward is very, very small. Otherwise, they pretty much do what they want. And so when conversations are trending, we're all liable to see the same things. Even more recently, like sometimes we have a family ministry, we have a family, a Boston family text thread. Sometimes we'll send each other things that half of us have already seen.
Yep.
Because we're sharing an internet. Our adult kids have seen the stuff that my husband or me, and it's the two younger ones who usually haven't come across anything, because they're not on social media like that. But it's like that, and so I'm wanting to get perspective, and Keedren does the same thing. We're really looking for perspective because we're like, if our kids come across this, what do we think their perspective might be?
Right.
What do they think? Is that a conversation we should have with them? Is it something that we should talk to them about our personal situation and talk them through how we've navigated and how we manage, our decision and what we decided, and of course we would share something like that with our kids, but those are still conversations. Yeah. Those are things you should be talking about before you get married. And this is the thing now too. There are a lot of women like, I want to get married, I don't want to work. I hate it for us as a people because there's so much backlash for them saying that. But if that is
for the women that are saying that,
yes, but there are so many men who do not mind that. And there are so many women who want it.
But you have to talk about it.
But you have to talk.
Right.
You have to talk about it. You have to have a conversation about it, because it doesn't matter how people are arguing about it on social media. Men who are fighting with women about it, first of all, that's lame. Don't argue with women. If you're a man watching, don't argue with the ladies on social media. Like,
don't argue with y'all on that.
They do. Like, you will see like 47 men gang up on a woman's comment on a post that she didn't write. It's like, crazy, it's like, come on, it's like, gentlemen. That ain't. And sometimes I'm like, ladies, come on now. After one or two comments, don't give energy to these strangers. Just move on. You've said your piece and you have every right. But I can tell people become keyboard ninjas and they are stressed. Look at it gets real sticky. And that's why I say, like, we're on that grown folks stuff. Like, we're not doing that. We're not going. First of all, I'm definitely not going back and forth with anybody. Right. And not a stranger. Not a stranger, but also I don't have a problem holding my peace either.
That's true.
I don't have to jump in on my one comment to 26,000 comments. It doesn't really matter. Right. But at the end of the day, it is interesting to hear and to know. And so for that reason, that's why we're saying have those conversations. And know if that's what you want. Don't marry that woman, and then when she is expecting your child and she's like, I want to nurse. Look, keyboard.
You're right, Cheddar.
Keyboard ninjas. Be ready to box in the comments. You've seen them, like, they are ready to box in the comments, and sometimes they straight up do box in the comments. I'm like, y'all are really in here scrapping.
It's unnecessary.
It's not.
And you won't act like that in real life.
You wouldn't. And like, honestly, like, I ain't never scared, but I don't want confrontation. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want to offend anybody. I certainly am not going to go back and forth with somebody.
You don't want a little smoke?
No, I mean, like, no. You know, if something comes sideways, like, I'm assertive.
It just depends on what it is, too.
But there are things, there are just places I'm not going to go with people. And I'm not easy to offend. I'm not going to get upset that easy by the comment of a stranger, but I'm also not going to engage in an argument or a conversation that I know.
No folly.
No,
it's dealing with no folly, no foolishness.
No.
Yeah.
And because my husband is a real man, I don't have to argue with no man and no comment.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm not doing that with him, and I can be a lady. If I can be a lady for my family and for my husband, I'm definitely not going to show my tail on these here internets. Yeah. But you know, my point was that, like, watching this happen, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, this is a thing now. This is what we have become, because it's not something that, you know, we grew up seeing. Yeah. And now we have adult grown kids out here watching, listening, and reading the same internet that we are. And I'm like, please don't let my sweet babies think this is okay. No, and I know that they don't, because we talk.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, we, you know, we do have to talk to our children, and not just our children, of course, our children, but anyone that we have influence with. You know, it's definitely important when we see that stuff. Just a side note to understand that, like, if there's something that you see, you know, online, a trend or something that's going on, it's okay to speak to those things and to really correct and redirect, you know, the people in our lives, especially the young folks. Like, they need to know, like, some of this stuff is not wholesome. Some of this stuff is not true. It's not a good way to think. You know, and when it comes to, you know, some of the way, you know, people are
engaging with each other,
right?
Stuff
you know,
out there.
Yeah, the perspective. Some of these perspectives are just skewed, and like, what
they are crazy.
I don't know.
And some people are just saying the things that they've heard. Yeah, like, I feel like this was a video. I think you and I might have been watching it together. But this man was on the street. It was a young guy. You know, I think he was younger than 30. I can't really tell, but he was young, and he had his microphone out on the street, and he asked this young girl, and I don't mean to call her a girl, but this young woman, she looked like she could have been either in her early adulting state, you know, years, like maybe between 19 and 24, maybe, right? So kind of young, but is asking her, like, how much does a man need to spend on you to take you on a first date? And she was like 10, 20 bands. And I was like, what
restaurant you going to?
I was like, where are you? Is this man flying you to Australia for like some whale? Like, y'all gonna eat some shark tonight?
Right.
Like, do you even know? Like, legit, they don't know. Yeah. And I feel like this young woman has watched videos of people saying that, because on that man's same channel, there were several times where he asked, like, he was in random places, right? And he was asking a bunch of different young girls, you know, stuff like this. Like, how much does a man have to make in order to take you out? And like, $89,000 a year, and, you know, and one was like, he gotta spend at least $40,000 on me, you know, to take me on a shopping spree. And I'm like, do y'all know the place value of those numbers? Like, do you know how to write? Do you know how to write $47,600 on a piece of paper? Like, do you? Because it looked, I mean, they were so young, and the way they presented themselves. And I mean, like, hair going this way, makeup going that way, lashes going this way. And it was like,
but on the other end,
like,
of that,
that's
like,
a lot. Like, these are just babies. Yeah. Like, I don't want them even exposed to like predators.
That's true. You know, like, but also thinking about the young men that are being impacted by this too, because that's the thing too, where they feel like that they have to have a certain amount of money or a certain amount of status in order to feel valued by
a decent woman,
right? You know, and now they're looking for value, you know, in other places outside of God, of course, but even not even seeing their own value. They're saying, like, if I don't have this number, or if I don't have this name, then nobody's going to care, you know. And I've heard young men actually say these are things that they're thinking about. Like, they're literally looking at the website online and seeing these young ladies say these things. And they're low key, like, living by that. And it's the same thing with the young ladies too. Like they're influenced by the culture and what's happening. And it's like, that's how they're living their lives based on what they're seeing online. And so that's why I was saying, like, if you have influence, if you have the ears of youth or a young person in your life,
your younger cousins, siblings, nieces, nephews,
make sure that they understand, first of all, what's real, you know, and have some sense of reason to say, look, this is not how it is. Like, you don't have to find your value. It's not based on how much money you have or your status, all of that stuff. I tell my daughters and tell my sons, like, you can always make more money. If you're just because you're where you are right now, doesn't mean that's where you're going to always be. You can always make more money, but your character, right? Your character, your values, that is what matters, because you can get $1 million. You can have $1 million deal. God can mess around and give you $1 million idea. And now you start this business and money is coming every which way but loose, right? And so money is not your issue, but what is your character like? Right. What are your core values? I was just talking to a young man today, you know, after service, after church, and I was letting him know, like, telling him that I said, if Odell Beckham, right, Jr., I was just saying he's an NFL player, wide receiver. For those of you, who don't know, anyway, he's an NFL player, athlete. I said, and I know this young man loves football. He plays football. So I said, if he came to you and said, man, like, you a cool dude, I want to kind of hang out with you, kind of show you the ropes, young man, I want to take you, you know what I'm saying, under my wing. And now we end up in a place where, hey, we go to this club or something like that. And they're like, hey, man, it's all good. Ain't nobody here. Go ahead, take you a drink, you little sip on it. Not to say OBJ, let's take OBJ out of it. Somebody to influence, right? Anyway, you're more likely to do what they are asking you to do. This is what I said to this young man, because of the influence that they have on you. If you don't have your core values in place, if you don't know what you're standing on and what you stand for, it's easy for someone to be taken advantage of and influence. And I said, on another aspect, even for a young lady that you might be attracted to, and she wants to do certain things, or she wants to have you to do something that is not what you're supposed to be doing.
Right. Let's just say that. Yep.
If you don't know your core values and what you stand on, it's easy for a friend, the opposite sex, or somebody of influence to influence you to do something negative. But when you know what you stand for, and you have these core values, and you say, no, I am a man of faith, I am loyal, I have integrity. Nobody, it's going to be so hard for people that are influential in your life,
right?
People that mean something to you or that you care about. It's going to be harder for them to even influence you to do something that you don't believe in, right? And so it's important for us to understand what our values are,
right?
So that when we do grow, that at our core we will be good. You know what I'm saying? Like, we will be on point. You know what I'm saying? Now, for us, of course, yes, I have my values, but most of my values, and all of them they're rooted in the Word of God.
Absolutely.
Right. And so that's key, first and foremost, but it's important. So work on those things and understand that that's what's going to keep you more so than a dollar amount.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I love that conversation, even for young women, because you talk to our girls that way too, like we both do. But even teaching them their value is not, it's not in anything external. And here's the thing. I say that with a grain of salt. Stay with me. Don't hop off. This is what I'm going to say about it. I do believe that when it comes to relationships and things, attraction is important, but your self-care is important. Yes, be pretty, be clean, have good hygiene, take care of yourself. But in that same vein, I'm also teaching my girls modesty as well. In terms of, like, be mindful of how you present your body. Right. Be mindful of how you go out into the street. Like, my daughters are not allowed to, and this is just in my house, it's no judgment, but you don't have a reason to get up during the day, get dressed and wear pajamas to the mall, or to wear a bonnet to the mall, or to school, or to your college classes, just because other people do it. There's a certain way. I'm like, I want you to present yourself to the world in a way that matches your core values.
Yeah.
And again, this is nothing against anyone who dresses any kind of way. You're talking with the Bostons. We're talking about in our household. And by the same token, it's not just inappropriate. It's not just what's not appropriate for your location and your season in life, but showing your body too much. Teaching my girls, like, look, y'all are gonna be dope. You can look at your mama and see that, but guess what? That's not to be on display.
Yeah.
That's not to be on display. That's not for you to show to the world. It's not for you to be taking selfies and showing your body and, taking pictures in bathroom mirrors and, and being ridiculous in that way. There are just some things that you cannot undo. And I get what the culture says is normal for teenagers and young women and all of that stuff. It just because it's normal doesn't mean it's right.
That's good.
And everything that is a trend changes.
Right.
There are some things that just don't change.
Yeah.
And it's your core values. Yeah. And that's what you have to stand on, because your friends can change. Not just your money. Your money can change.
Right.
Your friends can change. Where you live, your status, your jobs, all of those opportunities can change.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to raise the kind of daughters as well that understand that there is value in them.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, don't worry about taking care of your appearance, because it shouldn't matter. A man should want you for your mind. Like, all of that is true, but appearance and presentation and hygiene and all of that is what we call back in the day the total package.
Yeah.
Right. Like beauty and brains, can have a good conversation, can have a good laugh, can be intellectual.
And it changes the focus. Chill. It changes the focus too.
Yes.
When you're talking to a young man or a young woman and you are presentable, you know what I'm saying? You don't have any distractions where now they're looking at the top or the bottom, right? It's like, it does change the focus. It's like, now I can really kind of focus on you. And then if you got it, you got it either way. That's not the, but it's just like, I don't have to call those kind of things to attention.
Right.
Because for one, you're worth more than that. Sure. And those kind of things.
And men too.
Young
men, it's the same way. You are worth waiting for. If you want to preserve yourself for the woman that you're going to marry, or for a woman who's not going to play with your heart and your emotions and treat you like you're some type of scrub just because you're a man. Look, men have emotions. And in this time, like, we have conversations all the time, like with our daughters, and letting their brothers hold emotional space in the relationship. As I've gotten older, I've been more cognizant. Like, I need to allow my husband to hold and take up emotional space in our relationship. He should be able to express himself, because there was a time when men were beating and putting their hands on women. It's like, they don't know what to do with their emotions. No one taught them. Boys are just tough. And then now that they're talking, they're also being shunned for, and being called things like sassy and all that. I don't like that. And I told my girls, I know it's trending, but don't call my sons sassy, and don't call any of your male friends or cousins or anybody. Don't call these young men sassy. If they have an opinion about something that's happening to them, I would rather them speak. I would rather them be able to use their brain, right, instead of the brawn to get a point across. Because every
face to face, and that ain't good.
And every man at some point in his life will have to come to terms. He will have to stand 10 toes down when it comes to physically guarding his space, or whatever that looks like.
Right.
But where can a man be safe?
Yeah.
Where can a young woman be safe and protect? And it should be in your home. I don't want my husband to have to go out there and face the world, right, and have all of this protection and his shield up, and then have to come home and guard himself from me. I don't want our boys to have to be out there in the world. And then when they, when Aaron doesn't live at home anymore, he's a grown man out there paying bills and rent and working a job and going to school and all that stuff. But he's out there in the world when he comes into this house.
Yeah.
When he comes home and he sees mom and dad and he's visiting his brother and his sisters, this is his safe place. So if he wants to sit down and talk about something, or like, mom and dad, can I come sit on the couch? Right. We're not, boy, you being soft, or just man up. No, have a conversation. Son, this is what you have to do. You're doing a great job at this. That's not sassy. That's him holding emotional space with us and saying, it's okay. You don't have to have your guard up with us. Like, talk to us, be honest, because with an honest exchange, we can have honest conversation and get you some honest advice that's really going to help you.
Or just hear you out. You know what I mean? Because sometimes getting it out
is helpful.
It's helpful.
Yes.
And then if there's some insight or some perspective that can be shared, that helps,
Right.
And our sons need that as well as our daughters.
Yes.
But
without
definitely
raising their voice too.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But I definitely do the same thing and do my best to make sure my sons know that I want to hear them, like, and sometimes it may get on their nerves. When I'm asking how are you doing, let's talk about that. You know what I mean? But I'm okay with continuing to be consistent in that way.
Yeah.
You
do a great job at that.
I appreciate it. But it matters to me that's what I'm saying, because I know that we're going to express it one way or another. Sure. And it might not always, and that's not always about violent way to express it. Sometimes we keep it in, and sometimes we let it out. And sometimes when we let it out, it's, either it's in an outburst or some kind of unhealthy way. Yeah. Right. And so I want to have that space for our children to be able to share it out in a healthy way, to be able to hear. I know, I've had conversations with Zion where he was frustrated and it got out, and I was glad, and I didn't worry about him raising his voice in that moment. Mm-hmm. Because I needed him to express himself. And when we came to a point where, hey, something got to give, I need to know what's up, mm-hmm. and we need to talk about this, and allowed him to share his thoughts and let that be. We don't take it. We're riding. We don't take it back to the house. We let it go. We let it out. Mm-hmm. We love on each other, and we hear from each other. And that's important, because, like they say, too much pressure busts a pipe. And we have pressure because we keep it in. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then now we got a whole bunch of pressure cookers around here steaming. Wow. Because there's nobody to say, you know what, let me safely open this pot up so you can release some steam, and I'm not going to be threatened by the steam that you need to release. You know what I'm saying? And so we need to if we have somebody that trusts us in that way, young men or young women, it's okay to just sit with them and let them say something. Yeah. If it sounds offensive, if it sounds crazy to you, let it be. Like, let it think about it. Let it, let it burn. Let it burn. Like, it's really important to do that. And so when you say give emotional space, that's what that looks like. Yeah. It's to just give you time to express how you feel and to talk it through, because some of it might be nonsense. Some of it might be like, okay, all right. Yeah, even if it is, let it out and just say, okay, I hear you. But, have you thought about this? And give some perspective, because that's important. You know what I mean? That's key. That is key. Yeah. I wanted to say that. Yeah. That's true.
I think that's real, right?
Pressure bust a pipe. Real talk. Real talk.
It's true. Yeah. And I think our biggest thing in that, the way, see, and we're talking about relationships, but it always, I feel like it comes back to our relationship. It comes back to the way we encourage our kids. Like, we really are letting y'all in on a conversation, and conversations that we for real have in our house. Like, we can't express this any other way than just that. But like, even with our girls, like, we had a moment with our youngest daughter recently, and it was just a misunderstanding in her mind, but she started getting loud. And I kept my voice even, because one of the things, like, I've worked on, like, our entire marriage was like trying to always like control my tone and different things. And don't get it twisted. They know.
She's from the East Coast. It's real easy to get.
And I'm Jamaican and Caribbean. Like, I'm the quiet one in the family. Okay. So like, and it's not all the time. I'm easy. Like, I'm peaceable. But like, I can tell the moments of frustration where my tone would get escalated. And I remember having an actual prayer, like, well, not having an actual prayer, like going into an actual prayer where I was like, Lord, help me to manage that, because in the moment, it's just not that easy. Like, I know the right thing to do, but it's just not that easy in the moment. And I told Keedren this, like, not too long ago. Well, it could have been a couple of years now, to be honest. But I was like, when I get loud, and I'm like, no, you're not listening, or, getting on to the kids, I would suddenly get like a piercing headache. And every time I feel it, I'm like, that is God answering my prayer. Because I asked him to help me manage it. And he gave me a neurological, like physical reminder, like, hold on. So it doesn't happen frequently now, but I remember like years and years. And so the other day when that happened and I've like, my tone stayed even, I was like, this little one, she's still learning how to manage herself. But I'm telling her, you have to lower your voice. I like, look at me, look at my face. Like, I'm actually listening to you.
Yeah.
I'm repeating what you are saying. Like, I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
But you got to chill on that. Yeah. Like, just, you got to chill on that because I am listening to you. Yeah. I'm not saying you're not right, but I'm listening. So bring it down. Yeah. There are moments where even Keedren will say, he's like, hey, you need to lower your tone talking to your mom. Mm-hmm. It's the collective community thing that we have done with all of our kids because we're trying to teach, even before they get married, manage your own emotions first. Right. Your joy, your peace, your happiness cannot be predicated on anybody else, but also how you manage your own emotions is not the responsibility. It should not be like their husbands will have a responsibility to their emotions. It's going to be up to their husbands to get to know them, their ups, their downs, their highs and lows, their ebbs, their flows, their seasons. It's going to be up to that man to continue to get to know my daughters over and over again through all the many seasons. Yeah. Just like it's going to be the job of my daughters to get to know their husbands and what he needs from them through his seasons. Yeah. It's going to be this, and same for our sons. They're going to have to do the same thing. It's going to be their responsibility. But to a certain degree, we need to be managing ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so these are the kind of conversations. Sometimes you don't know how people respond because we're so busy on them first couple of dates. Yeah. Sending our representative on a date. We don't show up as ourselves. Yeah. And I'm like, can you cook? Are you like to cook? Yeah, I like to cook. And then you end up seeing like those memes where they put like bone apple tea and they don't put some like I would still eat ramen. Like I'm not bougie at all. But, but like they'll put some ramen and like some fried bologna and some spaghetti sauce on top of all that. No, but you'll see those videos and they're like, follow me for more quick recipes. And it's like, is this for real? But you get but if a woman is serious and that's her idea of cooking, and she says that, like, you need time to get to know, like, ask questions, like, what kind of things?
That's real.
These are things that's people. Like,
that is real. Like having that like, man, that would be crazy. Like, no, because dang, no, like that would be very,
he likes to eat.
That'd be crazy, like to not know that.
Yes.
After you done said I do, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know, but it's important to talk about it. But I knew you could cook, when we were dating, because you cooked for me before, and during that time. But it's important to, try all these things and ask and like, I can cook, but what should be cooking? Make something for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like the first time he saw me like washing my meat, like when I was about to cook food and seeing me like soaking the meat and all that kind of stuff and peeling, slime and stuff off of chicken or whatever, or making sure it didn't have feathers, different things like that. And what are you doing? And I'm like, I wash your meat. And now it's a conversation, and it didn't make him no difference because he came straight from his mom's house. He was just, a young man.
It was something that
you not watching.
Yeah. I think that's what it was.
Just not watching.
You pay attention differently.
When it's in your house.
Things,
so he's like, come there. Hey, babe, what you doing? What you working? Oh, what's that?
The mustard got me.
Oh yeah, when I was
mustard got me.
Frying chicken.
Yeah, but the first time I didn't understand.
He's like, why you putting mustard on the raw chicken?
I like said, mustard,
no, it's just a little bit, and all of the seasoning is gonna marinate. I got this. Best day of his life. Yeah. But it's things like that, like you don't always know. And I'm like, well, I do wash my meat. And again, this is not a debate on whether you wash your meat or you don't. But
pause.
I'm Caribbean. I'm Caribbean.
All right.
And we clean our meat.
Yeah.
We soak our meat, with water and lemon juice or water and a little bit of vinegar. And that's how we clean it. Yeah. But we go up under the skin. We pull slime.
Understanding.
That's a cultural thing for me.
Yeah. That I'm cool with that.
I was born doing.
Yeah, it definitely don't offend. And it don't offend me. Yeah. No, yeah, I feel you, Precious.
Come on, got it from my mom. Exactly. Yeah. It's like it's a culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all stupid. I'm not about to play with y'all tonight.
Oh my God.
But and it's not like we haven't eaten a piece of church's or Popeye's chicken.
Right.
We don't know how they treated it, and it was good. We ate it. Okay. It's not that crazy. But in our house.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And it was just new to him seeing that happen.
Yeah.
But he knew that I could cook. But that was just a part of my process that he didn't see the first time I fried him a pork chop and made him some green beans and macaroni. Like he wasn't there for that. So, but him also seeing me as a cook now, he sees when I taste food, I don't put the spoon back in the pot. I have a tasting spoon that I only use for tasting and rinsing when I'm done. And I have a cooking spoon. I never let my kids eat straight out of my pots. I barely like them to fix plates. I've gotten better because they're older, but I also like serving too. So I like serving my family, when I cook meals and fixing plates. But there were just certain things that I was accustomed to that watching him. But I remember going to his mom's house to eat, and she just let us grab a paper plate and utensils and just go through, and kind of fix our own plates and things like that. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Cause I remember doing that with my family in cookouts. But anytime I was like at an aunt's house or my mom's house, whenever food was being served, it was served to us, and there was just certain ways we did things that it stayed with me. Yeah. So those are conversations. And again, we're talking about the stuff that like nobody tells you to have these conversations, like how you're going to do your traditions and conversations you need to have with your friends. They'll tell you things like you have to cut people off. That's not what we're saying.
That's not always true.
We're saying you need
talk about the people that you care about, that are in you're connected to, and how that chemistry
and them activities
will work. Yeah, how are you going to manage these relationships? How are you going to maintain them? Or some of them, may change because things will change.
Right. As we grow up too, we're in different seasons. Yeah. Like there are people that I'm sure we both know that there was a time when we ran with them real thick, and then it was a season where like they were doing life, we were doing life, or we were doing married life and family. They were doing life or dating or family, whatever that looked like. Yeah. And our dynamics change, right? Our interactions change. Yeah. But we can still look at them today. All of us, in our 40s, whereas we were teenagers when we all met each other. Yeah. We can see like we're grown. Well, most of us, not all, but most of us, right, have grown up and we're in different seasons and we do things a little bit differently. And so we're just trying to have a conversation like we would have with our young adult kids too. Yeah. What are the things that we talked about? What do you want to know before you get married? And you don't have to be young to have this conversation, but there are conversations before I do. So these are not limited to age, but the reason why we have these conversations as a married couple who's already married is because we serve young people. We hang out with young people, young adults. We're around them all the time. Yeah. And we have our own. And so just thinking as we reflect, like, what are some things that would have been nice to know that we didn't know? Yeah. Like for y'all, what are some things before your relationships got real serious? Mm-hmm. What are some things you wish you knew that you found out? Like, did a good relationship slip through your fingers in one season of your life because you were immature and didn't know? Like, what was that like? Look, hold some space in these comments.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is Diane.
Questions like, do we let family borrow money or live with you if something happens?
Yeah, I mean,
that's a great question.
Definitely a great question to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, it's communication is key. Like my mother always said that understanding beats the world. Yes. When you talk things out proactively, right, before you get to it, basically, it's definitely better, to be able to discuss it and really get some wholesome insight from each other, right? Yeah. It's definitely a good thing because when we are, how can I say this?
Yeah. Take your time. This is good.
When our life is added to, when someone else is added to our life, a significant other is added to our life, someone that you're in a relationship with, and you have a family that you love and you care about, right? The dynamics change, chemistry changes, right? Because I care about my mom, I care about my family, I care about these people that are close to me, but I also care about this one that I fell in love with, this new person, right? And everybody is not going to feel how you feel about them, because they're still feeling them out as well too, right? Especially in the dating phase, they watching to see like how they treating, as a father, I'm looking like how they treating my daughter. What are they doing? How they acting when she's not looking? What are they doing?
What do I see when they don't see me?
What do I see when they don't see me seeing them? Your family and people that you love are seeing them in a different way because of how they see you and how they feel about you. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not always going to be automatic. Sometimes it's like, oh, I like him. You know what I mean? I like her, and it you hit it off, but there's still a level of disconnection where
like
you
boundaries.
say, we're not there yet. Like, you have some potential, and I see not even potential, because we don't want to marry nobody off of potential. You need to show me. I need to actually see something right now. It's good to have some potential, but I need to see something that's worth connecting with you right now. Like, I don't want to say it's worth being with you because you got potential, because potential can pass away. Potential can, is not likely all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's not guaranteed, shall I say. And so understanding, let me calm down. I feel like I'm getting real high. Making sure that we know that the chemistry changes. And so what does that look like when it comes to how we're going to deal with family together, so we could be on one accord? So we
not on the same page.
Yeah, we got to be on the same page. Yeah, let me go.
No, that everything you said was right, because it's true. We need to be honest about that dynamic. There comes a point when your family will fall in love with the person that you fell in love with, in most cases, right?
Yeah.
In the best case scenario, that will happen. If there's no jealousy, there's no ill intent, in most cases, they will fall in love with the person, not just who you fall in love with, but the person who they feel has fallen in love with you. Once you assume that role, and I'm not just talking about a dating relationship, once we are married, when it comes to loaning family money, saying people, I love you and I love you, that becomes a community decision between me and my husband.
Yeah.
We always had this thing where we always said, hands down, if our parents needed us to take care of them, they would be the exception.
Right. Without a doubt. Yeah.
But no cousins, no friends. We've just said like we have to be real careful. Like that really, really depends, and we have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
But it was easy off top. We'll always help each other take care of our parents.
Yeah.
We said that
might be quicker to get somebody a hotel. You know what I mean? But anyway,
to bring them into your home.
Yeah. But
because there's a lot of dynamics that have to do with that.
Right.
Parent situation versus someone who's like in a transition situation is a little bit different.
Right.
But we had that understanding kind of like upfront. We would do whatever we needed to do throughout our time together to make sure each other's parents were good. I agree that he had great parents that he loved, and I didn't want that to change. I wasn't trying to compete with that. Again, I never came into his life to be a mother, a sister, or anything else. I came to be his wife, his help.
Yeah.
Same thing. He came into my life to be my covering and hold me up and have my back when it came to my family, my mom specifically, at least. And so that was important to us. Anybody else that has to be a conversation. We can't tell you who to let in your home,
right? Yeah.
But there are so many pros and cons, and some of y'all know it. Some of y'all saw the question in the comments and y'all was like, Some of y'all was like, yeah, it can work. I did it. I helped someone out. And that actually worked out. We sat down, we gave them a hand, and it was a blessing to them. Yeah. So there are two sides to that coin. But it is very important to know that you need to have conversations when it comes to our finances. He has loaned people money, but he's never done it. Or at least, no, I can't say he's ever done it like without my okay. It's never been like, why you loan them so much? Nothing like that. it could even have been a conversation was like, are you sure? Like, you feel good about that? Like, are you good if they cannot ever pay you back?
Yeah.
Are we good with that? You know, and knowing that after a while, I didn't have to ask that question anymore because I knew he would always consider that. He would never put us in a predicament or in a situation where he lended outside our family and left our family lacking or without. So early on, once I knew that about him, the conversations kind of changed because there was some trust there. Same thing with me. If someone comes and asks me for anything, they pretty much can assume they're going to hear me make this statement. Let me talk to my husband. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And that's about my schedule.
Yeah.
It's, however I, what is it? Allocate my time or my resources, because both are equally valuable. My time and my life are both valuable.
No, but I appreciate that, and it's mutual. I definitely do the same because I remember there was a while back when I was doing a lot of traveling and going and doing a lot of events and things like that. And you said to me, whatever you say yes to, we're saying yes to.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that perspective for me made a difference. You know what I'm saying? For me to think about that, because even if it was beneficial for me or I felt like it was beneficial, it's still something that I have to say no to. Like if I say yes to them, I'm saying no to
something else,
to y'all, to whether it's just time of sitting back, watching a movie or eating dinner with y'all, whatever that is.
Right.
When I'm saying yes to y'all, I'm saying no to something else, and that perspective makes a difference. But have conversations about those kind of things, because I don't want to be somewhere and you just like, man, I wish he wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like I just, or I wish he didn't go to do this. You know what I mean? Not for selfish reasons, but because there's some kind of misunderstanding, or you didn't know I was going somewhere else and you had dinner prepared.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I didn't communicate with you and you made me a plate, you know what I'm saying? And there's been a couple of times in the past where that was a thing, and especially like when we were dating, like there were times where that would be happening, like you cooked or something like that. And, I came in town or whatever it was.
You just took a detour.
Yeah. And it's just like, man, that was not, that was inconsiderate. Right. But understanding how important it is to communicate, to be considerate. And that's key. How are we going to consider each other? But these conversations, I think, are important, but not just the conversations, but also watching people too and learning from them as you are, as you're in relationship. Like you'll see certain things, how they respond to people, how, what they do. And it's just like, I like that about them. Like, she's very kind. Katora's kind. She's loving, and, she's definitely going to be honest and diplomatic with people, or how she is caring for people. And you've gotten better and better over time. Like you were never trash at it, but over time, like I've actually seen you be more intentional about how you communicate with people, because you care about, how you communicate, you know what I mean? And that's something that I appreciate and I admire, about you. And so it's not a bad thing to watch people, right? That you're interested in, to see the things that they can't tell you they do, right? I was having a conversation with Symphony a few weeks ago. I don't know. It was, we talk a lot. I talk to,
you talk to our kids every day.
For
it's
sure.
A beautiful thing.
I was talking to her about character, right? Because people can talk to you and tell you what they're going to do. Like, this is how I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to just get my life right. I'm going to do, I'm got my stuff lined up, right? Cool. Like, I'm glad you're saying that. I'm glad you are considering how you living. But a character, when you think of a character, right? Think of a movie or a show, right? When you're watching the villain, his characteristics are being played out, right? You see how he thinks, or he or she thinks.
Like the Joker.
You see, right? You see their character. They're doing something, right? They're acting it out, and so people. It's better than them saying who they are. you see character. Character is acted out. So how are people acting? Because that is their character. Right. You know what I mean? If they're acting rude, if they're acting disrespectful, if they're acting inconsiderate, then they are. That is a part of their character.
Yeah, they're
being, right? And so if they're kind, if they're intentional, if they're considerate, if they're loyal, if they're prayerful, if they're, faithful, and they're like, and you can see it. You can see certain people that every time you see them, man, he gonna open the door for her, or he's gonna be, this type of way, or she is going to carry herself this way. It's because of what we're seeing, right? We're seeing their character in action, and so as you're dating and courting and living life with people, right? Friendships, whether it's platonic relationships or romantic, how are they acting? Pay attention to that, because that's true character in that way. And I love the things that we are talking about, that we should be doing, and conversations that we should have before you say I do, because these are some of the same things that, as I looked at this list, things that we continue to talk about even now, like in seasons, in times, it's a continued conversation about financial management. Like even recently, as we've been having conversations about how we need to shift and how we need to be better, and what are we doing that's working, and what are we going to do with some of the options that we have financially. What does that look like? How are we going to manage that? You know what I mean? How are we going to manage these things? Our family, if we're going to purchase a house, like we know that we have 2 kids in college. We have a sophomore in high school, and we have a 7th grader. What is our home is going to look different in the next 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm saying? When we're in our mid 40s, still young, we don't have to have a 5 or 6 bedroom house. That we don't have to do that. We're not a family of 6 anymore. So how are we planning?
Or a household of 6?
Yeah, a household of 6. Yeah, we're definitely a family of 6, right?
Yeah.
But these are conversations and things that you're going to be talking about throughout your relationship. Once you say I do, you're going to be talking about these things throughout your life. And it's important to get them started now and have an understanding. And now you're building from a foundation that you started. So speaking of that, we're going to definitely get to some comments. But I saw this when I said foundation, I was reminded of this. Miss Diane was saying, understanding that marriage is God's creation, his institution, and he has to be the ultimate foundation.
Absolutely.
That's so true. Yeah, absolutely.
We agree.
We definitely agree with you on that, Miss Diane.
Yes.
Thank you, Precious. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it is brown.
Yeah.
I call this the chocolate box.
Yes. Is it creamy?
A box of chocolate. Yeah, and this is
the lettering is a little kind of creamy.
Yeah, it's a little creamy right here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. I'm thinking about putting these on deck out there for y'all.
Yeah.
Let me see. If a person is being is part of their being. That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Who said that?
Yeah. No, I think they were quoting you. Quoting you. Yeah.
I was gonna say, look, I was like, oh, that's so good. Like I did.
No, that's real. That's real talk. Their character, you're acting it out, right? And so I love that. I heard someone say years ago, for spouses to have someone in their life outside of marriage who they respect and would hold them accountable, a person who will definitely tell them and love the truth about themselves. I'm so glad you said that, Miss Diane, because thank you for saying that. Because this was another point that we didn't hit on last time, but you're absolutely right, man, because I could tell you now, like, I don't have any friends that are married and, that I know of, and I really don't think that they are at all, right? Any close brothers that I know that are married and have, adulterous relationships, you know what I'm saying? That are living like that. You know what I'm saying? For one, I would not have it would be a different way. I couldn't rock with them like that without having a conversation and talking to them. It'd be different, right? But the men that I do have and the people that I do have in my life, the brothers I do have in my life, definitely hold me accountable in ways that are important. You know what I'm saying? I might not be struggling in certain areas of my life or in my marriage, but certain other places in my life that I need some accountability that will affect that may affect, my marriage. You good? Or may affect how I do things. It's definitely important to have someone that you respect and that loves you and respects you, that can definitely hold us accountable in that way. But yeah, you want to speak to that?
I was gonna say, and not just someone who will hold you accountable just to you, because it like Keedren said, it doesn't have to be anything like particularly negative,
right,
but it could be just a season or something that you're going through. You need someone who is not just for you, but for your marriage as well.
That's key.
Someone is key. If you're going through, like, for example, like if I'm going through something in my mind, or I'm struggling with something emotionally or spiritually, and it has the potential to negatively impact my marriage. If I'm going to talk to somebody about it, like I have one really, really close friend that, she's kind of been like a mentor to me over the years. When I share that, I'm like, I already know I'm tripping. And she's like, good. It's good that you've identified that. She's not going to say, no, you're not tripping. It's him. You need to leave him. She's going to say, well, maybe you are. You've identified that. Let's talk through this.
Yeah.
And she is able to say, well, no, I get your point on that, but have you considered this perspective?
Man.
Because she's for my marriage. She doesn't just love me, but she loves my husband.
Yeah.
She loves our household. She loves our family, our children, the stability that we have. She cares about us as a unit.
Right.
There are some people in some relationships that they're just for you.
Yeah.
So the minute that you mention that you're struggling in some way or something's going on, they're chomping at the bit to reinforce whatever it is you're thinking that you want to do. It could be something else, like, I'm thinking about making this investment and my wife is against it, but I think I need to do it because as a man, X, Y, Z and all that. He would need somebody in his life to say, well, hold on, I get it. She might not understand, and you might not feel like she's in agreement with it, but this is a big move, brother, and you understand that there's some risk involved. And are you willing to risk that, in your marriage, in your family? Think about it. Now, you may think about it and say it's still a good idea. It's a calculated risk you're willing to take, but I wouldn't risk not having peace in my home for it. And I can quote that because that's something that my husband would say to somebody.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of things he has said, to people I've heard him talking to and in mentoring. Here's a perspective. I hear what you're saying, but think about this. Is whatever it is outside of your relationship worth damaging, diminishing, losing trust, harming in any kind of way? What does that look like for you? And you'll ultimately let that person make the decision for themselves, but are they for you and your relationship and your family?
Yeah. Because, man, we want to see the people that we're connected to, people that we know that are married, that we want to see married couples do well, man. Like, seriously, we want to see our single friends do well. We want to see our single friends, everybody that we're connected to, we want to see them. Like, we are really for our people. Yeah, it's like we really want to see y'all win. Like,
day one.
Yeah, no matter where you're at, no judgment, none of that. Like, it's like we really want to see the people that we know and love win. Like, that's important. And you want to have people like that in your life and recognize, and then be that for people as well too. You know what I mean? That's so important. For your marriage and for your family. Yeah.
When one is straight, the rest is straight.
Yeah.
Meaning marriage and family. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Amen.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's a fact. That is a fact.
Yeah.
When one is straight, the whole thing is straight. Because again, the Bible says this: a house divided cannot stand. A house divided cannot stand. And here's the thing: we can have a disagreement without division. For some people, there are disagreements that are absolute deal breakers. What are those for you? Talk about it before you get married, before you make that man or that woman pay for doing something that triggered you from a past relationship or experience. because you never addressed it. Because in your mind, no, I'm good. I'm whole. I got myself together. It's probably true in a lot of ways. 90% of that is probably true. But if there are things that go beyond disagreement and will cause division, identifying some of those things, I think, are really, really important.
Yeah.
Again, like someone coming out of an abusive relationship, they can be healed, they can be whole and have moved on. And in their next one, they're like, what I won't do is tolerate you becoming physical with me. I got pushed out of a car before. Not me, but I'm saying someone telling their story.
Yeah.
I got pushed out of a car before. Someone punched me in my eye. Me and my child had to run down the street barefoot. I'm not doing that. That's not just division.
Yeah.
That's like, I disagree that that's a healthy relationship. And that is enough to divide us and that is something that would be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
So if you don't have good management of your emotions, like you loving me today is not enough. If on your worst day, that's what your love looks like.
Yeah.
And I know that's an extreme because we don't have time to go through, on a scale of 1 to 10, each one of those. But I'm saying, be clear on what your boundaries are.
Yeah, treatment.
Somebody is treatment, because someone may also say, before I even got in a relationship, I had this thing where I loaned family money. I let family stay with me. And one cheated with my last significant other. So family cannot stay with me. If they single and I'm in a relationship, they cannot stay under the same roof as us. I love you. I will help you to the extent of which I feel comfortable helping you. We can even talk about how you got in a situation where you need my help. But I'm not comfortable putting someone under the same roof and it has nothing to do with my insecurities. It's my uncomfortability. And as the woman in my house, as the man in my house, this is the boundary that I have. And I need us to agree that both of us need to be comfortable with this.
Right.
I have loaned family money and we stopped talking. I've loaned family money and now we can't be at the same family reunion, or someone almost got killed over it. These are just examples. These people have these real scenarios and stories, and it's not to put it on. If you don't want to be putting it
triggers,
on,
like Ms. Dunn
they're triggers. You don't want to put them on the shoulders of your new relationship, but you do need to address them. Because that new person could love you to the moon and back and still be like, every now and again, I have a buddy that I help out. He's a single dad. He's a widower. And his daughter is like my little niece, like my goddaughter. And every now and again, I will give them money for something. I send money for back to school. I send money for Christmas. I help him plan her birthday parties. This is something that's a part of my life. This is something that I do. Is this going to be, a problem?
Yeah.
Or is this something you can embrace with me? I want you to meet this family. I want you to meet this brother. What does that look like? Because these are like the little things. It's not just like, what was that song like? It's us against the world. No, all we need is love. It's us against the world. As long as we got each other, we don't, yes and no. Yes, conceptually, but practically, that's really not how life and the merging of lifestyles work.
Yeah. And then as you grow too, you got new friends, right? You like things change. Even if you started that way and maybe you were just a loner, or a new city, new everything is new, in that way. We evolve as people. And so that matters too. And I think just having a healthy relationship where you can conversate, when you can talk, when you can listen, hear each other, get an understanding, ask questions, get clarity. That kind of stuff matters. And I think developing that type of culture in your relationship is key. And it starts with a conversation. And it's a journey. Like a relationship is a journey, right?
Yeah. I feel like when you just said that, it made me think like it starts with a conversation. It ends with understanding.
For sure.
Like it was understanding meet the world. It starts with a conversation. It ends with some understanding. If we talk, we'll get an understanding.
That's the only way we can. If we listen, right? that's so good. We'll definitely be better for it, you know. So yeah, this was
sweet.
This was
great
good.
conversation. And thank y'all for chiming in, you know, and contributing, because it really does shape the conversation. The questions and the comments that you all made, they just resonate with us so much, because these are truly either conversations that we had in the beginning of our relationship, or things that we did not know. We didn't have these until the middle, 3/4 in. And some of them, these are things we're still having. Like Keedren said, some of these conversations are literally seasonal conversations that we have to keep revisiting as our life changes, as our family dynamics change, as we change, everything about us changes, and we just have to check in with each other. And so the practice, we've gotten so much practice at communicating with each other. We're more comfortable now in this season of our life than we've ever been. And you know, communication is like this because life is like that too,
for sure. And it's in a relationship, you really sometimes have to be, and especially when it comes to conversations that might be difficult, or maybe in our minds sometimes we think conversations are going to be more difficult than they are. And that's some
a good point.
I know we've had conversations where I thought it was going to be more difficult than it was, and it turned out not to be that. And there was some where I thought it was going to be easy, and it was a little bit more, and it was like, okay, this is a little bit more complex than I thought it was going to be. You know, so but I think that's that roller coaster. But we have to be okay with having uncomfortable conversations with each other.
Yeah, because they're crucial.
Yeah, it's definitely crucial. And I always say this to preface when it comes to having a conversation, like, we're in relationships, we get into relationships with people because of how they make us feel and how they treat us, and then we get out of relationships because of how people treat us and how they make us feel, right? And so when we are able to express how we feel and to validate our feelings and even others, and get a clear understanding of how we want to be treated, then that right there, the clarity in that makes just for better communication and better treatment overall, you know. And I think that's important. I think so.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Yeah. So think about what you need and how you want to be treated in a relationship. Have conversations, you know, and ask honest questions. Ask questions that you want to know the answer to.
Yeah.
You know,
these are real,
that you want to know the answer to. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Because there's some things
you wait to see if it'll come out.
Right.
And you need to get to it.
Or somebody else is trying to get you to ask something. You know what I mean?
Or they're just going to present to you what they want to present to you.
Yeah.
Right? Because
that is true.
We know how the honeymoon phase works. Right. Like the honeymoon before the honeymoon is that early dating stage too, where sometimes you're getting people's representatives. We're putting our best foot forward.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you get it, and you're like, where did this person come from? And well, it's because a wolf can only remain in sheep's clothing until it gets hungry. Then it starts showing its teeth.
You see it get real dingy.
Yeah, but then you see them teeth, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, sheep don't have canines.
Hit a stomach growl.
Yeah, sheep don't have canines. Like they don't. That's not how they roll. And it's like, oh, you know, they try to snap back, like, but you can't unsee what you saw. And sometimes we'll try to justify, but we're saying in this season, ask real questions, listen to the real answers, and take people at face value. When people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah, that's real talk.
But make sure you get them to tell you who they actually are.
For sure.
And you watch.
Yeah.
You watch and you pray.
Watch and pray. Be prayerful. Lord have mercy. Be prayerful. Yeah.
Yes.
Ask questions that you want to know and that you need to know.
Right.
There's some questions we need to know.
Right.
Yeah. Love it.
What you're saying, lining
up with what you're doing. Right.
Yes.
That character. Right.
Yes.
Because there's no way the Joker could, you know, when you see a Batman movie and you see Joker in there,
you already know.
He can tell you all he wants to, how good he is and his intentions, but how he been acted. You're like,
telling you everything.
You ain't nothing but a Joker.
No,
you know?
Got the fake smile and everything.
All of that.
You have met some real life Jokers in your life.
Met some real life Jokers.
You met some real life Jokers, and so you understand the value of that. But also be willing to be measured by the same metric that
that's
you're
true.
measuring others.
That's true.
So you're checking for real character in other people.
Two-way street.
Also know it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
You should also be being measured by the same metric.
That's good.
I'm gonna keep it real. You're gonna keep it real. And if we're not a good fit, at the very least, we gained a good what? If you watched last week, at the very least, you've gained a new good friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't beat that. You can't beat that at the very least. Right. So anyway,
I love it.
It's been fun hanging out with them tonight, huh?
No, for real. Always.
Yeah.
Always. We definitely appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Yep. If you want one of these hoodies, we still got people grabbing them, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You can't get this color necessarily, but Keedren is about to drop it soon. But you know how it is when new inventory, like seasonal stuff comes in. We've been trying some stuff. And so we look at how things move. We don't just put stuff out there. But if you're interested in a Not About Me hoodie because you like opportunities for people to stop you and give you an opportunity to ask you, if it's not about you, then who is it about? And you get to say it's about the Lord and share your testimony.
Yeah, just about being considerate, man. Like,
considerate
keeping God first.
Yes.
But also considering others before yourselves. Like making sure that, I think we need to be more considerate, you know. And so, on top of it being God being first in our lives, but we also want to love God and we want to love people. Right. You know what I mean? And so this represents just that as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to care about others and be considerate of others because of how God cares and loves us. And he considered us. Lord have mercy. Absolutely. So grateful. So the link is in the
it should be in the description.
So if y'all want these, go ahead and order away. We're restocking now, so this is a good time for that. But we appreciate y'all. You have any other closing things that you want to share? Lock in with us on YouTube.
Lock in. If you're not following us on YouTube, we definitely would like for you to do that. If you're on YouTube ever and you entertain any other YouTube channels, let us be one of the ones you support because it's free. Por gratis.
Hey. Okay. And shout out to the new followers. To the new followers and subscribers on YouTube too. We appreciate y'all.
Appreciate y'all. We're glad you're enjoying yourself and hope you stick around because we got, we always have new conversations coming. But for tonight, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. We'll see you next time on Talking with the Bostons. Y'all be good.
Love y'all. Peace.